welcome to another exciting episode of The Courthouse, the program that gives you the opportunity to learn more about the law and gives you general legal perspectives on real-life issues. So if you need legal opinions, legal advice, or even to know some jargons, this is a program to watch. I am Itohan Olomu-Agbodo. We'll take a quick break now, and The Courthouse will be right back.
Olomu Plus app is bigger and better. Watch all our shows with just a click.
Let him have the right to decide what happens with your body.
Watch inspiring, informative, and entertaining programs. You can comment, like, and share. Watch our live TV and web TV on your mobile devices. Watch the big stories in real time or when you have the time. Experience Olomu Plus app right now. Download Olomu Plus app on Android, iOS, and BlackBerry. Go to Google Play Store, Apple App Store, or Windows Phone Store. Welcome to the bigger picture. Olomu Plus, beyond television.
This is The Courthouse if you're just joining us, and this week on the show we are talking about defamation. I have with me a very senior legal practitioner. He is Barrister Tunde Ojomo, the principal partner of Sovereign Partners firm of legal practitioners. In fact, he is the founder, and I have him here at studio with me. Barrister Tunde, you're welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Glad to be here.
So now, a lot of people talk about defamation. Can you just enlighten us, what is defamation?
Defamation generally is any statement that is made by someone about another person that tends to disparage that person in the eyes of the public. Tends to disparage, yes. It tends to let people look at him lower than the way they would have, you know, in esteem and all of that. It could also be something that could affect his trade or his business, you know, and all that. And defamation is false. It's information that is false. It's
information that is false?
Yes,
okay.
And it has to be information given to a third party, because you can't disparage someone about himself.
Okay.
You know yourself. So if I tell you you're a liar and you know you're not a liar, there is no defamation there.
Okay, so does that mean when two of us are talking, for instance, and you say something I don't like, that would not amount to defamation?
No, it won't amount to defamation. Okay. It has to be published. That means it has to be told to a third party.
Okay. So in what medium should a defamatory statement be published?
A defamatory statement can be made in any form. It can be made orally. In that instance, it's called slander.
Slander.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then it can be in a written form. In that instance, it's called libel.
Okay.
Now, in a written form, it could be in a newspaper, it could be in a publication, it could be in any form. In a letter to somebody else, it could be in an email, it could be on a blog. These are all written, and they're like permanent forms of defamation, so they're libel. But when it's just oral, you know, like I tell a third party about you, then that's slander.
That's slander.
Yes.
Okay, but like you said, a third party must be involved.
It has to be, communication has to be to a third party, and that's what's called publication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. We'll just we'll take a look at this scenario, and you tell us if this constitutes defamation.
Welcome to Inside the Matter, and I am Olufumi Williams. Today on Inside the Matter, we'll be talking to a prominent politician in our society. His name is Honorable Louis Akirimade. Honorable Louis, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, you're representing the senatorial district of the Southwest. So, Senator, we know of a grouse going on between you and a certain person in the government, and a lot of write-ups, accusations and counter-accusations have been going on, even concerning the new economic policy. And, you know, people have been saying a lot of things. Now you are here on Inside the Matter. Tell us, what has been going on really?
Honorable Femi Lawrence is the man behind these whole accusations but I'll tell you some things you don't know about him. If you remember, when we were in the 7th Assembly, we did say that's under the previous committee of Ali, I can't remember his name now, he's late, Senator Ali Sharif. They came out with a document accusing Senator Femi of financial misappropriation.
Do you have proof with
yes.
for this?
They submitted their report. The same Femi, I don't mean disrespect, but I'm not calling him honorable. I say it to his face. The same Femi, in his own state, in Ekiti State, what happened? 225 million naira poultry scheme, money gone missing. Of course, there was no probe in that one. Of course, we didn't see what came out of the whole probe. You do not go about shouting corruption when you yourself, you are the most corrupt.
So are you saying Honorable Femi?
He is corrupt. Honorable Femi is corrupt. And Honorable Femi should come out to Nigerians and tell Nigerians what he did with the funds allocated to him when he was made minister.
What did he do? What did he do? There are projects that you said, like the poultry scheme that you just mentioned.
That was a failed project. The East-West Road, 4 billion. Today, our president administration is still looking for money to sort out that road.
So are you saying that Honorable Femi diverted public funds to his own coffers?
See, hold on. You see, I like us to just take issues as they were. You see this English we are always speaking in this country. Sometimes you hear diversion, you hear misappropriation, you hear certain different construction of English. Money was stolen.
So are you saying
yes,
that
money was stolen, missing, corruption, yes.
Welcome back. So, Barrister Tunde, you saw that scenario, someone talking about a politician, saying he's a fraudster, saying one or two things about him in a talk show. Definitely, so that means a third party is already involved because it's going to be broadcast to various stations and media. So, will that constitute defamation, just saying someone's a fraudster?
Oh, definitely it would.
It would?
Yes, it would, because, I mean, if you say someone is a fool or someone is an idiot, that's mere vulgar abuse. But when you begin to talk about someone being a fraudster, then you are impugning on his character. You're saying this person is dishonest. He's over and beyond mere vulgar abuse. Now, this is particular, and you need to, for you to make such bold statements, you should have proof. You can't just make those mere allegations like that. That definitely is defamation.
So, sir, are there ingredients, as in what actually constitutes defamation? We want to know.
Well, before I tell you about the ingredients of defamation, it's interesting that the publication was made on TV.
On TV.
So now, if that was a live recording, then the TV station would most probably not be held liable for defamation. But if it was a recorded recording, wow, and the TV station had an opportunity to go over it and amend it, and they didn't do that and they published it, then both the person that made the statement and the TV station will be liable for defamation.
I would like you to amplify that again. When you said if it's a live recording.
If it's a live recording, yes, and now because it's a live recording, there's not enough that there's not much the TV station can do to stop the person making the defamatory statement. You see, because in defamation, anybody that repeats that defamatory statement is publishing that defamation and is liable himself also for the defamation. So the TV station, if he publishes defamatory statements that he knows is defamatory and he doesn't do anything about it, will be liable. So if it's a live program, there's apart from shutting down the program, there's not much you can do to control what the person is saying. But if it's a recorded program, then you have time to go over it and tell the gentleman that, hey, look, don't say this, we don't want this, we're a responsible station and all that, yeah. Okay. So that's what that entails.
Okay, so the ingredients.
Ingredients of defamation. Number one, there must be a statement, whether written or oral. Number two, the statement must be false. Number three, the statement must be published to a third party. Okay. You know, those essentially are the ingredients, and it must be about someone.
Okay. So you said there must be a statement.
There must be a statement. The statement must be false.
False.
The statement must
be a third party.
It must be communicated to a third party,
yes.
and it must be against the person claiming that he's being defamed.
Okay.
Yes.
So if someone out there just comes out and say, all these people, they are criminals, they are corrupt officials and all that, and doesn't actually mention a name, can anybody claim to have been defamed? No,
not in a society like Nigeria.
Why?
Yeah, because it's general. It's a general statement. Okay. You know, it's like maybe more like a statement of opinion. Okay. Now, your opinion, no matter how defamatory it may sound, really would not be defamation because everybody is entitled to an opinion. So you can't really, you know, regulate people's opinions. But you can regulate statements they make regarding other people that they make as statements of fact.
Of fact.
Because opinions are subjective, facts are objective, and facts are things that exist.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. We'll take a report now, and the courthouse will be back. Defamation is the communication of false statement that harms the reputation of an individual person, business, product, group, government, religion, or nation. At common law, to constitute defamation, a claim must generally be false and have been made to someone other than the person defamed. Some common law jurisdictions also distinguish between spoken defamation, called slander, and defamation in other media such as printed words or images, called libel. In some civil law jurisdictions, defamation is treated as a crime rather than a civil wrong. The United Nations Commission on Human Rights ruled in 2012 that the libel law of the Philippines was inconsistent with Article 19 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as urging that state parties to the covenant should consider the decriminalization of libel. A person who defames another may be called a defamer, famicide, libeller, or slanderer. The common law origins of defamation lie in the thoughts of slander. Defamation is a general term used internationally, and sometimes it is not necessary to distinguish between libel and slander. The fundamental distinction between libel and slander lies solely in the form in which the defamatory matter is published. If the offending material is published in some fleeting form, as by spoken words or sounds, sign language, gestures, and the like, then this is slander. Libel is defined as defamation by written or printed words, pictures, or in any form other than by spoken words or gestures. In proving libel, a person must prove that the statement was false, caused harm, and was made without adequate research into the truthfulness of the statement. For a celebrity or a public official, the person must prove the first three steps and that the statement was made with the intent to do harm or with reckless disregard for the truth, which is usually specifically referred to as proving malice. You're still watching the Courthouse, and I have here with me Barrister Tunde Ojomo, the principal partner of Sovereign Partners, firm of legal practitioners. Barrister Tunde, you were talking about the statements made publicly or statements of opinions that they would not constitute defamatory statements. Yes. So now, from what we've seen, what we've heard, and for the purpose of clarity, people have freedom of speech.
Yes.
So what would constitute a limit to their freedom of speech?
Yeah, like the Constitution guarantees freedom of speech. That everybody has a right to speak. But when your speech begins to affect me negatively, then that's a limit to your freedom of speech. You have your right until your right begins to, you know, go against my own rights. Because everybody has, every human being, every human person has a right to be thought of the way he deems fit. Has a right to his own reputation. You understand? Everybody has that right. And so your freedom of speech cannot, you know, cannot go against that right. That's where it stops.
So now, most of the time, we hear people saying, all these politicians are corrupt, they are corrupt, this, that, and they don't actually mention name. Those will constitute statements made to the whole world, or statements of opinion.
And all that. So, but if you say a particular politician is corrupt, then you better have the proof of that corruption.
Okay, what if I say, for instance, this politician is corrupt, I don't actually mention the name, but I do a lot of maybe descriptions and all that, and maybe a caricature that would look like that politician? Would that constitute?
Yes, if that politician is able to show the court sufficiently that this caricature and all of these things that have been done, they tend to, this is clearly, you know, the person that is being referred to, then he can sustain a claim for defamation.
So in case that politician brings a case of defamation against me, what would be my defense?
Well, your defense would be maybe privilege if you have a privileged relationship. In other words, if you are maybe a public officer or someone that's occupies a position where you have to disseminate information, you have to give information. But if that information is false, then your defense would not really hold water. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, no other defense, maybe like I'm very sure this person is a criminal and I have facts, I have...
No, if the truth is an absolute defense.
Okay,
you understand? Because the statement has to be false. So if it is true, I mean, you can't be defamed by someone that told the truth about you. So that's an absolute defense. There are other defenses like qualified privilege, absolute privilege, you know. But all of these have to do with relationships. You know, the doctor and his patient, the lawyer and the client, the law officer and the public, you know, and all of that. So these are particular instances that we'll need to go beyond what time we have now to go into those issues. But
maybe you could delve in a bit and give us more angles to this topic. Would like to hear
defenses to defamation.
Yes.
Okay.
Like you said, defense of truth is...
No, truth is an absolute.
Any day.
It's an absolute defense.
Okay.
Yeah. Now in Nigeria, various states have different defamation laws, but they're more or less similar. Now the defenses, the statutory defenses, for example, on intentional defamation, if you didn't intend, you know, the statement to be defamatory, you believed it at the time you said it, and once you realized it was defamatory, you took steps to withdraw it and to apologize. You know, that clearly shows that, hey, you didn't intend to defame this person.
So which law is that? So
well, right, I'm looking at the laws of Oyo State and the laws of Ogun State. And also Section 6 of Defamation Law of Lagos State, 2003. They all have similar clauses.
Okay, so unintentional defamation.
Unintentional defamation,
I did not intend to defame this person, but what I said now happened to be defamatory.
Exactly.
And of course, like you said, I take steps
quickly
to correct
it. And you know, that goes to show that you didn't have a malicious intent.
Okay.
You understand? Yes. Now, of course, a fair and accurate report of what happened. Okay. Even though it might miss certain essential facts, it might be slightly bogus, but if it's a fair and accurate report and I judge to be so, then it could not be said to be defamatory.
Okay.
And also, of course, justification, which is what comes out of absolute truth. Okay. If you are justified in making the statement that you made. Yeah. These are essentially the basic, apart from absolute privilege and qualified privilege.
Okay, so now you've talked about defenses to defamation. So I have absolute privilege, qualified privilege, we have unintentional defamation,
fair and
accurate comment, which stems from defense of truth also.
And justification.
Yes, interesting. And I'm really learning a lot. I hope you are learning a lot from this topic, defamation. Yes, everybody has freedom of speech, but your right to freedom of speech ends at a point when you start impugning wrong things to another person, and especially when those person's names are mentioned, you don't have to do that. That is defamation. And like Barrister Tunde said, we have those that are written. A written one will constitute libel, and we also have slander, spoken words. So now, Barrister Tunde, is there any word, any summary you want to summarize?
Yeah, there is something that is interesting. You know, now we've gone into the internet age.
Yes.
So now the internet presents a challenge. Even though the law of defamation applies to the internet, the internet presents a peculiar challenge because now in the internet you can be anonymous.
Wow.
You know, you could go online, post in a blog, you know, use an assumed name and all that. So it's difficult to trace the person that made the statement. So now that brings into play what is the role of the internet service provider.
Wow.
You know, if this service provider now, for example, Google, for example, is a search engine.
Yes.
Okay, so primarily Google cannot be liable to for the content of other websites because all Google does is they let you access those websites. They don't control what is on those websites.
Okay.
So they won't be liable. In this point, they will be called a distributor, like a newspaper seller or a bookseller. You know,
so they are just vendors.
They're just vendors.
Yes.
Yeah. But Google also has certain chats and forums and all that they organize and that they control. Now, if those defamatory words are pasted on those chat forums and all that, you know, and Google had an opportunity to remove them, and they didn't remove them, then Google will now qualify as a distributor.
Wow.
You understand? Or as a publisher
of the defamatory
comment. Yes.
So in that state, now, what will be the course of action against Google?
For publishing defamatory, because every time a defamatory statement is published, it's as if the publisher made that defamatory statement himself. It's primarily liable, yes. So Google will now be held liable. And Google has a lot of money, so people could go after Google in that sort of instance. Okay. You know, in Nigeria, our laws are not developed up to the extent to handle the peculiarities of the internet. But in the UK, you know, a defamatory act was promulgated in 2013, and that gives, regulates internet posts, so to speak. And it gives them, the person defamed would give notice that, hey, look, there's a post on your website that is defamatory to me, on your blog. You know, please take it down. So once they have notice of that and they take it down, then they're not liable. But if they don't take it down, then they will be liable.
Become liable.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the cause of action in such instances?
It's defamation, it's libel, because it's written, it's in a permanent form. Okay. Yes.
Okay, so now if I am a politician and I've been defamed by somebody and I want to go to court, I really want to sue because my reputation is being affected and people are saying so many nasty things about me, what do I do? Well, you first of all get evidence of the documents, if they're documents, or get a person who heard the words, if they're words, state the exact words. They have to be in your pleadings, the exact defamatory words, because this is what is your cause of action, so to speak. Now, the meaning of that defamatory word is not what a kind of people or a sect or a group of people would attribute to it. It's what the ordinary person would attribute to it. So even though it seems to be defamatory to maybe only doctors, you know, if a lawyer doesn't see it as defamatory, then it's not defamatory. If the man by the roadside doesn't see it as defamatory, then it's not defamatory. You know, so it's what the reasonable, general, objective man looking at or hearing those words would think that will determine whether they're defamatory or not. And also, a lot of people think that, you know, when you're defamed, you just go and claim $1 billion. It's not like that. The estimation of your reputation is not what you think of yourself, it's what other people think of you. You know, and a whole lot of rules, you know, about how those things are assessed, yes. Okay, so that's why a question just came in and someone asked, is it only politicians? Because when we're talking of reputation, we keep looking at those high-profile people. What about a normal citizen, for instance, a doctor or a businessman, for instance, that's the taxi driver? Anybody can be defamed. Anybody can be defamed. Yes, anybody, because everybody has a right. It's like your rights in Christ, so to speak. These are your rights in law. You know, you have a right to your reputation. That's what you have. It doesn't cost money, you know, and no amount of money can replace the damage that's been done to your reputation if damage is done to your reputation. You know, so everybody has that right. A child, an adult, you know, a lawyer, a banker, a politician, everybody has that right. These are fundamental rights. They are fundamental rights. Yes. So, for instance, now a taxi driver claims he's been defamed. What will be the measurement of his reputation? No, as in he says... Well, there are a lot of factors that will go into play. Number one, how much does he earn? What is his... pecuniary value, so to speak. A lot of things, you know. I don't have all of that information right now, but it's quite technical, and it doesn't amount to as much as people would love to think it would. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been interesting talking with you, Barrister Tunde. We have another segment in this program. It's called the Bar Book. Bar Book, we share Latin maxims and their meanings, basically legal jargons. So my favorite for this week is volenti non fit injuria. That's when you consent to a thing, you cannot come tomorrow and say, no, yeah. A wrong was done to me.
Voluntary assumption of risk, yeah.
Simple. So, Barrister Tunde, what's your...
Well, my all-time favorite is audi alteram partem. In other words, yeah, before you decide a matter, hear the other side.
Hear the other side.
Yes, because it's important before you decide a matter to hear the other side. A lot of people, you know, that's why defamation has so much potential. You hear something, you don't hear the other side. You don't understand the circumstances in which it happened. You don't care to find out whether it's right or wrong, and you repeat it. You're as liable as the first person that made this statement if that statement is wrong.
All right. So you get more on the Bar Book. Well, that's the much we can take on the show for this week. And I had a special guest with me today, Barrister Tunde Ojomo, the principal partner of Sovereign Partners firm of legal practitioners. Barrister Tunde, thank you so much for being with me on the show today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks so much. Well, you can also join us on www.loveapplause.org or UCOS, or follow us on King's Chat. I remain yours sincerely, Itohan Olomu-Agbodo. And I say to you, don't just get mad, go get a lawyer. Bye for now.